I think we can start with it if you'd like. Do you guys want to take like 20 seconds, introduce yourself, and just basically sort of
I've met almost everyone here, but just for everyone, just name why you're here.
I'm Marcy, one of the leaders for Albany, Hoosick Falls. Mother is great.
Thank you. Exactly.
My name is Robert Tucker, newly elected village trustee. I've been a lifelong resident of Hoosick Falls. Just want to say it's an honor for you to be here and recognize us. So thank you very much.
Michael Hickey, village resident. Gillibrand multiple times, and you again.
Thank you, Michael.
Marianne Zuckerbauer, I'm a member of the WNYT. Community water group, and I also am a downtown
Eric Sheffer, I'm the resident county supervisor. Mark and I both kind of co-sit on the CDWG. And the month before I came, the month before I came on the town board was the month everything was announced. So that was the first thing that I got in my email from this guy years ago. Really appreciate you coming up.
Mark Servant, I'm town supervisor. And thank you, Senator Gillibrand, for coming out. And for the legislation that's being presented, I echo what the mayor said. This is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. I can't thank you enough for being here. I can't thank you enough for your advocacy, for all you've done over the at least past 6 years that I've been aware of this issue, and have been really partners with you on how we fix it. I want to thank our mayor for hosting us. I appreciate your leadership at a time, and I want to thank our town supervisor for your leadership. Both of you really do make a difference, because we need to have a voice of elected leaders that can help. I also want to thank Marianne and the Hoosick Armory for letting us use the space. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to all the village residents and advocates, it's your stories that have motivated me to work so hard on this issue, because they are so heartbreaking and they are so infuriating. Not only does it create enormous anger when you hear the injustices, but it also creates enormous sadness because of the suffering that every family has to go through every day with the kind of anxiety that PFAS in your water brings. So I just want to thank you for speaking up and never being afraid to speak out. The last roundtable we had was in 2016 at the high school. I'm sure everybody remembers that. But that was a really important moment because if you remember back then, people were deciding whether to take a deal, whether more things should happen. There was a lot of debate. And I think our roundtable really did give an opportunity for more residents to be heard, to elevate the issue, to make sure the full state understood what was happening here in Hoosick Falls. And so I think it was essential. And I think this roundtable is also at a really important time to elevate your story, elevate your issues, and make sure that the right decisions are being made on your behalf. I think the biggest challenge we have is, and this is something that we talked about then, is that because the blood levels are so elevated, 40 times, 50 times, 100 times more than what's normal, This is uncharted territory, and that's why medical monitoring is so essential. If you don't have healthcare professionals who understand the impact of PFAS on the human body and have seen it all before, they're going to miss a diagnosis. They're going to miss symptoms. They're going to miss treatments that are supposed to be used and that will help families if illness does happen. And so I think the medical monitoring in this legislation is so important. It was entirely inspired by what I heard at that roundtable, because it's what's necessary. And it reminded me so much of what happened on 9/11 with our 9/11 first responders working overtime for weeks and months and a year to clean up that site, and then all the while breathing in these horrible toxins. We also have now a similar issue with all the service members who served at burn pits, breathing in all these toxins. And, you know, we have a principle in this country, polluter pays. Well, not only should they pay for the cleanup, but they should pay for the medical monitoring. And that's what my legislation says. It says they have to pay for all of this, because they're the ones that made millions and billions of dollars over many, many years, unfortunately, to the detriment of the community, either the workers or the community surrounding the manufacturers. We have similar challenges on our military bases, and I'm sure you're aware of this because now you're national advocates. PFAS was used in firefighting foam for all military bases. By law, they were required to use that kind of firefighting foam. So any community around a base has the same challenges that you do, that their groundwater is polluted, and they have to have the same challenges that you do. The military at least has agreed to do the cleanup and recognizes it is their responsibility, so it's a little easier than fighting against private actors where we need a right of action. So we have to have a federal right of action, which is the third part of the legislation, to make sure that when you do sue in court, you can sue in federal court too. So you can sue in state court, you can sue in federal court, and that's how you can, I believe, get employers and companies to understand the weight of the decisions that they made and the weight of this pollution. And so I'm very grateful that we can talk about this today, that I can hear what's going on. I know you're in the middle of the debate. The DEC is deciding where your water source should come from. I'm very interested in hearing your views on that. I have my own thoughts as well. So I'd love to start our roundtable and talk to you guys about what's on your mind, an update, and any issues that you want to bring to my attention, that is things that aren't going well, things that you would like highlighted, things that you feel you need more advocacy on. And anyone can speak. Just introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Senator. I just want to take a quick moment to say that the village right now, in terms of the municipal water supply study, we are waiting for probably the next couple of weeks. DEC is going to be releasing their PRAP, their proposed remedial action plan, which will outline what they think is the right solution for the village of Hoosick Falls. We're in the process as a village of going through and talking with our experts who have been going through the report to come up with our own recommendation. I just want to make sure that's out there. And I know the town has a different kind of issue they're dealing with, and I think, I don't know, Mark, if you want to speak to that in any way and give an update?
As far as the...
I mean, the village is on the municipal water supply, so that's kind of what our next big thing is.
No, the town continues to, we're working with the companies. What the state did initially, when they stepped in and helped us out, was a tremendous help by providing POA systems for all the homeowners that are on private wells, because many of the wells did test positive for contamination.
Yeah.
And there really is no rhyme or reason to it, but it may be nice to have some solid answers why some wells are contaminated more than others, but we don't have those answers. But we do have the fix, and that fix came in the smaller version of the POA systems that were installed in each home. So that really has been a godsend. The state helped out with that. In the end, we still need to know that those systems will be available for everybody who's going forward.
So I didn't mean to hijack the conversation. This is obviously about this bill and this important medical monitoring, and this is a chance for us to give our comments, ask our questions about the bill, the process, details, concerns that we may have. So who would like to start? Bob?
I have a cancer when I was 20 years old. I'm not going to find. I go to Bennington, Vermont. That's our nearest cancer center that most of us would go to. So it's easy for me to tell them, well, from Hoosick Falls, you know, these are the cancers that would be related to it. But what about the people that moved away?
Yeah.
And they live in Colorado? And it's on them kind of to tell their doctor or whatever. So how do we handle that? And that's a hard question, and I'm sure, but that's something we have to think about, all these people in small towns. A lot of us move away. So
one of the challenges we have in the whole nation is we have PFAS everywhere. I think 99% of humans in this country have PFAS in their blood, which just shows how horrible it was when companies created things like Teflon and it became ubiquitous, and manufacturers like Saint-Gobain and Honeywell used it to make plastics. That's one of our challenges. The reality is that if you do get medical monitoring, it's yours forever. So there will be a process where you just say, I lived in Hoosick Falls this amount of time, you're covered. It's almost a presumption. If you lived here, you're covered. And that will be true for other places. So I believe medical monitoring won't be isolated just to upstate New York, because there's this problem all across the country. And so I think you'll find experts no matter where you live in the future. But once you are designated as medical monitoring is paid for, once we create this law, then it will be just as easy if you live in West Virginia or in Michigan or in New Hampshire, where we have great deals of PFAS poisoning. So I do think over time it will get easier. It's different from 9/11 in that actually, first responders came from every state in the country, but the vast majority came from the tri-state area. So we have really good doctors now who are super expert. I think those doctors will also develop. I think we will have experts in PFAS over the next decade that will be able to treat our families. And I think the first step to that is getting national medical monitoring. And this will be a national standard, so it won't just apply to Hoosick Falls.
So do you envision when this passes an education process for physicians then? Because I think that's what we see the most when, you know, Emily, Lorraine, when they're going to see their physicians, they're doing more of the education at this point in time. I know that there's been conversations about possibly putting together a continuing education program for the physicians in these communities, and that really has kind of hit a brick wall a few times. So I think that's where we fall down, is our physicians that aren't educated, especially here in Hoosick Falls. We have Dr. Martinez, that he's a member, but a lot of the physicians that work here don't live here, and that becomes a problem because they don't pay as close attention to what these illnesses are, and you know, obviously they're busy with many other items, that this kind of takes a back burner. You know, I believe, Emily, I don't mean to speak for you, but you know, even going to doctors in Albany, you tell them about PFAS, they don't know what it is or the illnesses that are related. So do you envision a continuing education program for physicians in these communities that have these illnesses that are here?
Yes, I do actually. So I think this is very much modeled on what happened with the 9/11 health bill. So this bill will fund research to knowing all the symptoms, all the effects. So you'll create a body of research that then can be read in medical journals by every doctor. But what happened in the 9/11 example, there became experts in the epidemiology of diseases related to it, but also experts in doctors that treated people with PFAS. And so we may be able to stand up unique doctors that are experts that can be referred to. So you can actually go see an expert in PFAS disease. That's what this bill will fund. So it'll fund the research, it'll fund the medical professionals, and it'll fund the medical monitoring. And I don't think it will be limited to one site, but there may be a site that's local where there might be a PFAS practice at Albany Med, for example. That's the kind of thing we did down in New York City, where there were at least a handful of expert doctors that were able to work with these first responders. I imagine we could have the same thing here. And we could have sites like that all across the country where there's huge hotspots of PFAS. So I do think we could spend some of the money, the research money, on it's basically technical assistance, telling people what to look out for when they should be concerned. Make sure they sign up for the medical monitoring program. There'll be resources to ask them to sign up so that they're in the registry. Registries help. So for example, in the burn pits legislation, through advocacy, advocates created a burn pits registry. So anybody who had any symptoms could just log on and say, this is my symptoms, this is where I served, this is what I was exposed to. And so through that work, we know there's 200,000 service members who are already registered that were exposed to that. Once we create a PFAS registry, people can register, say where they're exposed, what their symptoms are, and it'll be a community, a national community, which will have much more resources. So people can be part of that, and that's how the medical monitoring will work. We do it with the 9/11 health bill. So 70,000 people have registered, and some aren't even sick yet, but they're part of the system, so they'll be given updates about, oh, breakthrough on treatment here, update on great new doctor there. So they're part of the community, and this bill will fund that same community for this group.
And I don't mean to hijack this conversation
at all.
You're not. So I apologize. My only question going off of that is kind of what Bob said as well as maybe Mr. Daly can speak to this, is that, the concern is there's not a lot of opportunities for younger adults here. So, a lot of people leave after high school. They're going on to colleges in different areas. Do you see a time when we can, have our kids in high school educated? How are we going to do that for the senior class that's going to be going off in the future, that they need to remember that they live here and that these illnesses are
there's no reason why we can't collaborate with the professionals at the local high schools and grade schools in health class or whatever other relevant class they want to use. But kids should monitor. They should register before they leave for college. So if there's an email that they're going to get every month about what the updates are, that a college kid will be getting that who's moved away from Hoosick Falls. I think that's essential. And so we can collaborate with the local high schools. Because we have to do that in New York too, because 9/11, it hit ground zero. There were grade schools, high schools, schools all around that area, and all those children are covered. So we have a roadmap on which to build, because we did it for those families too. And so they are all registered. Anyone who lived in Hoosick Falls during the last several decades that the presence of PFAS was here should register for medical monitoring. They'll get updates, they'll be in the system, so when they start getting symptoms of anything, they can easily connect it back so that their treatment can be more precise.
Yeah, I think that's huge, just because of how time has evolved here. I think all of us have probably fielded questions from people that have moved out of the community that wanted to know how can they get their blood tested, what do they need to do, and that's been a real obstacle, I think, for the people that have left, that want to know.
10 years and they get a blood cancer, or they get some autoimmune disease, or some kind of arthritis. This all can be related to chemical exposure. So this will provide the research, so the epidemiology is done. So we know what 5, 6 cancers that we believe to be associated. There might be 100. And so that's what the epidemiology does. They do all the research, and they start now, and they just keep going so that no one falls through the cracks and no causation or link is missed. And that's it allows our medical professionals to be more effective in what they do. You don't want to be treated for something you don't have. You want to be treated for the thing that you have, and to be treated precisely and have the best outcome. So I think this can work, and I see it working in these other contexts. So, but this is important. And now my job is to try to get it bipartisan in the Senate. And I'm going to ask Shelley Moore Capito, who has huge PFAS problems in West Virginia. She may not want to go as far as this legislation goes, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to work on it. And I may suggest that we go down to West Virginia and have a roundtable like this in one of her communities, so she can get the same kind of feedback that I've been getting over the last 6 years. So I think it's really important. So it's important that we get this bill passed, and we have a chance now in the next year to actually get it passed. I'd like it to be bipartisan. Other thoughts, other updates? What's working, what's not working? Go ahead, Lorraine.
So, on that one point that you guys brought up, and I think to several things. I participated CP and community liaison, and now it's into the conversation with National Academy of Sciences. The panelists are going to be 18 months long, and what they will do is premier experts. After the 18 months together, they will be presenting to the CDC the guidance of PFAS.
Great.
So their recommendations
and we're working in conjunction with them. And our East Coast panel, and I'm speaking for EPA Region 2, is Wednesday. It's from 2 to 4. Then they're going to have another 2 panels, one in the Midwest and then one on the West Coast. So they're trying to hit different speakers from all over. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but I think we have the data, we've had the experiences here to let them know what to do, what not to do, what should be done. Again, as I've been nose deep in this issue for almost 6 years, and I'm also working with Albany on making and forming a health data for our upcoming site study. We're posting as we go all the health studies we find that they're going to be studying, and it's on the Albany UAlbany EDU website as we update. So I've been reading health studies for a long time, so it's good to be able to go to someplace like the National Academies and say, look, this is what we've learned, this is what happened here. With my levels, my family's been going to the doctor constantly, and not a week ago, a doctor in Bennington didn't know about PFAS, wouldn't talk to me about my levels. It's a week ago. I've had to print off studies to bring with my grandkids when they go
Very frustrating. You know, it's not dissimilar.
Reese's peanut butter eggs yesterday. Looking at our current CDPHP first warning cam in Lake George. Look at that sunshine, blue skies. That's the story for today. Not quite yet a boating day on Lake George, but we are heading into springtime and some warmer temperatures are on the way for this week. Current temperature is 42 degrees, a wind chill of 36, however, because it will be feeling fairly breezy later on today. Current temperatures throughout the area generally in the lower mid 30s, a little bit warmer to the south, 43 in Glenmont and 41 in Freehold, 28 in Broad Alban, 34 Duanesburg, as well as 34 in Saratoga Springs, rising this afternoon towards 60 degrees in some spots, especially in the mid-Hudson Valley. So it will be feeling warm, but it will be breezy. Wind gusts can gust to near 35 miles per hour later on today. Current satellite and radar, we're talking about clear skies and mostly sunny, and that's the story for today. Not clouds in sight, as well as not much in the way of rain showers. Looking at our hour-by-hour forecast, seeing a little bit of a zoom out as we head throughout later today. Again, we are remaining dry with mostly sunny skies, maybe a few clouds generally in western New England. We have this upper level low pressure system still kind of spinning off here, causing some clouds possibly in western New England for tomorrow. A little bit more of a mix sun and clouds as we head throughout the week. But the steep pressure gradient between these two systems here is going to allow us to see some breezy winds today, as well as keeping us mild and clear throughout the rest of your Monday. But those temperatures are warming up as we head throughout later next week. We do have some breezy conditions today. We're talking about that. There is this red flag warning in effect. This is from noon today until 7 p.m. this evening. Now, this is mainly just for southern Vermont, western New England, Bennington County, Windham County. They are in effect with this fire weather warning. We talk about fire weather. There are 3 things that we need in order for these brush fires to happen. And we're talking about dry vegetation, low relative humidity, strong winds to kind of pick up that spark, as well as those warmer temperatures. And we're seeing all of those things today in those areas. So that's why we are seeing the increased risk of that fire weather. So keep that in mind. Any fires that do start do have the potential to spread fairly quickly this afternoon. But elsewhere in the immediate capital district, we're just looking at those breezy winds, so you might be more worrying about where your trash can is by the end of today. Starting off earlier on, gusts to around 25 miles per hour, but later on in the day, you might find your trash can tipped over nearby with gusts up to near 35 miles per hour later on this afternoon. High temperature today of 58 degrees, mostly sunny, breezy, and dry. Again, if you're in those areas, be aware of what those breezy winds may mean for you later today. Tonight, dropping down into the 30s, so not nearly as cold. Winds will diminish in the overnight period. Mostly clear for your Monday night. Tomorrow a high of 59 degrees, and those moderating temperatures will continue, as well as mostly sunny skies and pleasant conditions. Taking a look at the next couple of days, again, we're looking at those mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures rising towards 70 degrees by Thursday, so we're looking at some beautiful weather as we head throughout the week. And I know Paulina was talking about how she wanted a little bit more of a taste of spring, and you've got your taste of spring here. We might not even see that next chance of rain returning until next weekend. So good news from the weather department this morning.
Do we thank you, or do we thank Mother
you thank
Nature?
Me. You
do
thank
we thank
me.
Neil for going to Florida? And then I don't know, what's the deal here? Who are we thanking?
We can thank Christina with her peanut butter Reese's eggs.
Yes,
there you go.
There we go.
I will accept any form of thank you in food. So any type of food, I'll eat it all.
Well, keep the warm temps coming, and you'll get the food
more.
will keep coming.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will do my best.
Christina, thank you. This morning we salute Air Traffic Control Specialist Sarah Torres. She's from the Bronx, but her family lives in Troy.
Sarah serves with the Navy and is currently serving in Japan. This morning we salute her and we thank her for her service. Still ahead, rapper DMX is fighting for his life. His family now planning a prayer vigil in his honor. The new details about his condition and what exactly happened.
But first, we're taking a live look outside right now, 6:45. Sun is up, 39 degrees in Schenectady right now. Not too cold, not too shabby. Meteorologist Christina Talama has a full check on your forecast in just a moment. Welcome back. 6:48 right now. We have a follow-up. A prayer vigil for rapper DMX will take place in New York City today after he was rushed to the hospital over the weekend with a heart attack. Originally, it was reported that it may have been caused by an overdose, but it's still not known if that's actually the cause for this heart attack. The Grammy-nominated rapper, whose real name is Earl Simmons, was rushed to the hospital in White Plains late on Friday. In the past, DMX has been very forthcoming about his battle with addiction. The family says the prayer vigil will be held outside of that White Plains hospital today at 5 p.m. And overnight, at least 5 buildings in Massachusetts were on fire as firefighters continued to battle a 5-alarm fire. The fire was reported shortly after 7 last night in Lawrence. Police say that there were no reports of injuries and no one is reported missing, luckily. The Red Cross of Massachusetts is responding to help those who are affected.
An ambulance crashes in Brooklyn, leaving one person dead and 8 others hurt. The ambulance was T-boned by a sedan on Sunday. A 95-year-old woman riding in the ambulance died. Police say they do not know yet if the cause of her death was related to the crash. 8 people needed medical attention for minor injuries. This has a lot of people talking. A Louisiana man was arrested at Disney Springs for refusing to have his temperature taken. Deputies confronted 47-year-old Kelly Stills and asked him to leave after he refused a temperature screening at the Boathouse restaurant. During the ordeal, Stills complained that he spent, quote, too much money on his Disney vacation to be arrested. He eventually tells officers he would get his temperature taken, and they appeared to say that he could do so in jail. Well, still ahead, elementary students in one Berkshire County district are set to return to the classroom.
This says students in another Berkshire County district will be getting tested for COVID. We'll tell you why state health officials are concerned about a potential outbreak. And there's billions of dollars in limbo, day 5, and still no budget in place.
We'll tell you what the holdup is and how it could impact the bottom lines of nearly 40,000 people. And more people in New York, Vermont, and Massachusetts can now get vaccinated.
We'll tell you who's now eligible and the steps that you have to take to sign up. That's all next in your top stories. Welcome back. 6:52 right now on this Monday morning. Christina will have a final check on your forecast in just a moment.
But first, your top stories you need to know before heading out the door. The New York State budget is now 5 days late. With no budget in place, this could be an issue for thousands of state workers. Not having a budget in place on time means a delay in their paychecks.
That's right. Eligibility requirements in our tri-state viewing area changes today. People 30 and up in Vermont can sign up today to get vaccinated. In Massachusetts, anyone 16 and older and has an increased risk of severe illness can also sign up. And starting tomorrow in New York, if you're 16 and up, you are eligible to sign up to get vaccinated.
And concerns this morning about those vaccination selfies we've been seeing on social media. Consumer advocates warning that posting a picture of your vaccination card could make you a target of identity theft with your name and birth date visible on the card. If scammers get a hold of it, they can use your ID to claim your tax refunds.
And a few local government offices are reopening today. City Hall in Watervliet opens to the general public. They're suggesting that you make an appointment ahead if you do need to visit them. And the Montgomery County Clerk Office and the County DMV are also open, but you do require an appointment.
The 11 p.m. curfew for all casinos, movie theaters, bowling alleys, billiard halls, gyms and fitness centers, it is being lifted today. But the 11 p.m. curfew for restaurants and bars, that will remain in effect. And if you're hosting a catered event, you will still have a curfew as well. It is midnight.
Elementary students in the Berkshires are going back to the classroom today. Those in the North Adams School District will be 3 feet apart. Windows will be open to allow for some more fresh air. And middle schoolers will be back on April 28th. No word right now on high schoolers.
Meantime, students at Taconic High School will be getting tested after an increase of COVID cases. There have been 4 new student cases since Friday. Our media partners at the Berkshire Eagle report half the roughly 800 students and 100 staff will be tested today. The other half tomorrow. Results should be known by Wednesday.
The Clinton Avenue off-ramp from 787 North is closing today at 8 o'clock this morning. Permanently, it's being transformed into a park. To get to Broadway, drivers should follow the posted detours. And the Corinth Free Library partnered with the Farm to Library. I keep saying that. Farm to Library.
That's the normal.
That's the normal, yeah. It's Farm to Library program to help people who are struggling.
Anyone who wants that can go, and if they are in need, they can stop there. They get free fresh fruits and vegetables. Our media partners at the Post-Star report there is no registration or qualifications needed.
That is great news. And call it a slam dunk. Duncan is donating 50 basketballs and 200 water bottles to the Boys and Girls Club in Schenectady today. Their goal to keep kids active. The youth program hosts about 400 kids and teens and about 60 staff members. Today's donation is happening at 1 p.m. And right now, those are your top stories. Over to Christina at the Forecast Center.
Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Paulina. We're looking at good weather for today. However, it will be breezy in the capital region starting off this work week. Current CDPHP first warning cam in Schenectady. The temperature is 38 degrees, rising fairly quickly this morning. With those breezy winds, that wind chill's right around 30 degrees. So keep that in mind. It might be a little bit cooler later on today. We do have a red flag warning in effect for southern Vermont with the risk of fire weather. That's from noon till 7 p.m. later on this evening. So keep that in mind because any fires that do start can spread rapidly. Any brush fires. Hour by hour temperature forecast rising into the upper 60s for later on today. But here are your high temperature trends. Average highs rising towards lower 60s by the end of this week. High temperature today right at 58 degrees. Mostly sunny, breezy, and dry. And that's pretty much the story throughout the week. Back to you guys.
All right, Christina, thank you. Let's take a quick check on the roads. Here's a live look at 787 at alternate Route 7. Things are moving along just fine there.
They are, and they're looking right now at the Northway south of the Twin Bridges. No problems there either.
And let's look now at I-90, the state campus complex. We just checked New York 511, and there are no problems to report. Nothing that's going to impact your morning commute. So as Sam would say, if you want to stop and get your coffee, you have time today.
You absolutely do.
Today is also National Deep Dish Pizza Day, and if you're a pizza lover, Uno Pizzeria has some deep dish deals for you.
Well, stores in Albany will be offering a buy one, get one deep dish takeout. When you order, just use the code 2638 and swing by for that takeout. We have all of this information posted on our website at WNYT as well. My goodness, that pizza looks so good right now.
I know, Emily. Emily, you said it best before. I don't care like what type of pizza it is. Like, I'll eat it all.
I'm hoping I walk in the newsroom and there's just pizza out there right now.
It'd be amazing.
Surprise, you know, like a surprise. Somebody brought it in for us.
All right, thanks for watching.
We'll be back in 25.
WNYT Albany. News Channel 13 today begins right now.
Billions of dollars in limbo right now at 6 o'clock. What's the holdup with the state budget? And if it's not passed soon, what it could mean for thousands of state workers and their paychecks.
Vaccination efforts. More people in New York, Vermont, and in Massachusetts can now get vaccinated. Find out if you qualify to get your vaccine.
And if you have been vaccinated, there are growing concerns over those vaccination card selfies. By posting your card information, maybe putting you in danger.
Another deadly day in the Bronx as a shooting leaves multiple victims, one dead, another fighting for their life after a deli gets shot up on Easter Sunday. That investigation now underway.
Plus, a famous hip-hop artist battling for his life after a near-death experience. DMX now on life support. This as a prayer vigil is set to take place later today. What happened and what doctors say his chances are. It is Monday, April 5th, 2021. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Emily DeVito. Sabrina is off today.
And I'm Paulina Butska. We have a lot to get to this morning, including that state budget, of course. But before that, we're going to head over to Christina Talamo, who's in the Weather Center tracking for Neil, and she's got details.
Good morning, Paulina, and good morning, Emily. I've got some good news coming from the Weather Center this morning. We're looking at some sunshine as well as some nice weather, warmer temperatures coming this week. Current CDPHP first warning cam in Catskill. Current temperature is 47 degrees, so already seeing that temperature rise fairly quickly, and we're going to see it continue to rise later on today. Those high temperatures can even reach 60 degrees in some spots. Current satellite and radar, no clouds in sight as well as no rain. We've got some clouds spinning off this upper level low to our north and east, but for the most part, we are looking mostly sunny to start off your week. Just a little bit breezy, however. Temperatures throughout the area generally in the 30s with the lower 40s a little bit further south. 43 in Glenmont, 40 in Chatham, 36 in Hoosick Falls, and your hour-by-hour temperature forecast rising towards 60 degrees with plenty of sunshine later on today. We do have a red flag warning in place, generally just for southern Vermont.